Hi, everybody. It's Rose Odette, and we are here with the new episode of Bullish on Business, the podcast that talks to movers and shakers in business. I am thrilled to welcome Annie Rayhill with me today. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Rose.
She is the founder and CEO of Athena Consultants. Annie has built her career around helping companies use technology not just to solve problems, but to uncover hidden opportunities for business growth. At Athena, which I love the name, she and her team specialize in defining and designing software solutions, optimizing business processes, and harnessing agile and UX design to create technology that truly empowers people. That's what it's really all about, Annie. I love that.
Mhm.
Annie believes that what her firm delivers isn't just software, it's empowerment. She's also a proud graduate of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program and a WeBank WOSB certified business leader with a career that spans process engineering, investment systems, education, and entrepreneurship. Annie brings a unique lens to leadership, one that's every bit as strategic, resilient, and protective as a lioness leading her pride. Annie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Rose. I love that introduction. That was very all-encompassing.
Well, I am very excited. I was so happy to meet you at the Great Lakes Women's Business Council conference. There were over 1,000 women this year in Novi, Michigan. Wasn't that a great event?
It was great. I go to it was my third in a row, and at this point, I wouldn't miss it. It's just fabulous.
It was awesome. And when you stood up in that breakout session and spoke about women in business, you made the hair on my arm stick up because it resonated with me. And that's really cool. So, could you take us back for a moment to your own personal story? Where did you grow up? Where are you from? And real quick, kind of give us who you are, what makes you tick.
Oh, Rose, my story. So I'm English, but somebody said to me just on Friday, I was at a networking event, and somebody said, "Where were you born?" And I said, "I'm going to tell you, but you're not going to believe me." So I was actually born in Macon, Georgia, and my parents were on a working vacation for 2 years from England, and I was born. And then when I was 5 months old, they went back to England. So I grew up in England with an English family, but with an American passport. So I graduated high school at 16, and I didn't want to be the youngest at university like I had been through school. So I convinced my dad, if I find a job and somewhere to live, can I take a gap year? And will you pay my airfare back and forth? And he said yes, not thinking I would. So at 17, I was an au pair for that year in the San Francisco Bay Area and
Wow.
fell in love with this country. It was like I say I came to America and found home. And I wouldn't have gone back except I had my place at university. So I went back to England, went through. 4 years later, I was back in San Francisco, a one-way ticket on a credit card, which I did pay off, somewhere to stay for 3 weeks, and literally $20 in my pocket. And I have been in this country ever since.
Wow, what an awesome story. I love that. Well, Annie, did you know I lived in England for 10 years? Did I
I
tell
did
you
not.
that?
Which part?
I lived near Andover, between Andover and Portsmouth in the
Okay.
Lowlands. I worked with the NHS.
Yeah.
So I would rent thatch roof cottages over in the
Mhm.
villages. I was in Netherwallop, Overwallop, Farnborough, and it was beautiful.
I did an internship in Farnborough, so I know that area a little bit. I was there for 6 months in an internship with the university, so it's a nice area.
Yes, I enjoyed it, and it was really easy to get around because the train's right there, and
Yeah.
in and out. And it was so nice to be in the village because I got to meet so many people. And working in the NHS, I really became very intimate with the nurses
Mm.
and doctors and the IT staff because I was deploying my electronic medical record. I was an I worked for IBM before I started my company, and then when I had my I was a subcontractor, so they were deploying my software in the NHS in Portsmouth and East Sussex and other places. So it was really amazing. But let's get back to your IT environment and your IT business. So we want to talk a lot about what's going on with Athena. And can you give me a quick reason for the name Athena?
Absolutely. So Athena was the goddess of logic and wisdom. And the Greeks knew that's a female trait.
Right.
So that's why the name Athena, because we are a group of business systems analysts, basically, and we bring logic and reason to chaos. You've got some chaos, we can help you sort through it, and we can bring logic and reason. So Athena was a very easy choice for the name of my company.
I love that name. It's really great. Well, you've said Athena's mission is about bringing order out of chaos. In your terms, how do you lead clients and teams through uncertainty, with confidence? If they come to you and they're just saying this is really, we're in dire straits, how do you guide them through that?
So what we bring to the table is both an understanding of how to bring people out of chaos, plus an understanding of technology. And it's a powerful combination. So we believe that every piece of software is part of a human process. So it doesn't matter what we're doing in the technology realm, whether it be being asked to create a new SharePoint structure for a company, whether it's, oh my goodness, we've got spreadsheets to keep track of who's on first, and I can't add one more staff member, even though we could grow and the work is there, because I can't keep track of who's doing what. It doesn't matter what it is. Whatever it is you ask us to help with, we start with, how do you do it now? What are your pain points? What are your goals? And we come up with an optimal way of getting the work done first, before we look at technology and how we can support it and how we can do it. Even if you come to us and you say, we want to build a new system. In fact, I'm in the middle of a proposal right now, somebody who wants to build a communications hub. So they've written down some requirements and they've come and they said, we want to build this communications hub for our folks, and this is what we want it to do. So what we come back and say is, great, let us talk to individuals to find out exactly what your needs are, and then we will create users' journeys through the software. Let's do that first, and then we'll figure out what it is, how we build it, where we host it, how we build it, what we do. But let's start there with that human piece. And that's the piece that, particularly since Agile came in, gets lost.
Oh, how so? I think that makes that's so distinct in your approach. Because
Mm-hmm.
I know when Agile and Scrum and,
Mm-hmm.
those burn downs every day, it became all the rage. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so could you tell us a little bit more? Can we dig a
About
little deeper in
about the
that?
agile piece, about why it's
About
been.
how you don't let that muddle up your human aspect that
Sure,
you
sure. Okay. So, all right, I'm going to give you my little the beginning of my pitch here, Rose. So stay with me for a second.
I would love it.
Okay.
Yeah,
So,
we're all ears. Tell you the truth, this audience is gonna love this.
so whether it was Thomas Edison inventing the light bulb or Steve Jobs inventing the iPhone, There are 5 steps that have to be accomplished to create any new product. You have to define what the product will do, design how the product does it, develop the product, test it, and then put it into production. I believe that the most important step, the one that made both the light bulb and the iPhone revolutionary, is the first one. The definition of what the product does and how it impacts people's lives. The second most important is design, that the design you choose is a design that people want to use. What has happened in the software industry is that a group of developers, who are people who do the third step, came along and came up with Agile. Agile has a lot of great things about it, and we needed something new. We absolutely did. But unfortunately, what Agile does is it has completely thrown out design and minimized definition. And we try to jump straight to development. That causes chaos. It causes longer time to development, but the biggest impact, negative impact, is we keep not building what people really need because we're not taking that time up front to figure out, what are you doing now? What are your pain points? What are your goals? Therefore, let's come up with a definition of something that's going to actually change your life in a positive way, and then figure out how to design and develop it.
So when you're working with clients, do they accept this approach or are they resistant?
We target women-owned businesses for a reason. When I say to women, and I network approximately 2 events a week. So my last networking event was last Friday at a lunch. And 2 different women I had fairly long conversations with. And both of them, when I said, whatever we're building, whatever we're doing for you, whichever service of ours you are using, we always start with process. Their faces light up. It makes sense. We are systems thinkers.
Right.
So we have far less pushback from women than from men. In fact, we recently had 2 potential clients who we had meetings with to see if they wanted to hire us. In both of these meetings, there were women and 1 man. So one had 2 women and 1 man. In fact, both had 2 women and 1 man. In both meetings, I knew I lost the men very quickly. And the women were like, oh, this all sounds great.
Isn't that funny?
Isn't it funny?
That is so funny. I think that I wonder, yeah, we could dig into that for another 3 hours
I know,
or
right?
more.
There is something about the approach that does. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't a lot of men that go, oh, what a great idea. There is, but we definitely get more pushback from men. Men want to go to, but what tool do you use? Where do you
Right,
host it?
right.
What's
Oh,
the late,
SharePoint. Yeah.
right, what's the
Or
latest and greatest?
get into the whole argument about, oh, SharePoint versus whatever SharePoint competes with, and get into that
Yes,
techno,
yes,
alphabet soup bartering. Yes. Well, I
yes.
think it's amazing as a woman-owned business of an IT company. I
Hmm.
think it not even if you can't begin with the end in mind and really understand what the process of the people, like what are they really
Hmm.
going on, it's
Hmm.
like what's the objective? What's our goal?
Hmm.
And what are we really trying to resolve here? And then
Yeah.
I love that you say then the design work. You know, so
Yes.
much of design these days, and this is my naivete possibly, or experience and just observation, but it's
Mm.
almost like they're trying to put everybody in the same user interface these days. Are you experiencing that? It's like
Yes.
so much
Yes.
has to be like cookie cutter. And I get that some of that's good for training because if you know one system, you know them all, I guess.
Mhm.
How do you really incorporate design in a cookie cutter world?
Oh. Thank you for that question. Okay, so
And it wasn't on our list. I mean, this is why this
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
because I want to understand,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because it's so
So
cookie cutter these days.
those 5 steps that I just talked about to create any new product, including software, the way that you put those steps together in IT, as you know, is called a software development lifecycle. We had something historically called waterfall, which meant that you did absolutely completed the first one, threw it over the wall to the second one, completed that, threw it over the wall. It took years to build anything. By the time it was built, business had moved on. We needed something new. So when we were going through the point in time back in the mid-late 90s of what are we going to replace it with, one of the alternatives to waterfall was called user experience design. User experience design is actually another methodology, just like Agile is. It's not a great way of doing it from beginning to end, in my opinion, but the design piece is amazing.
Oh,
It's
wow.
it's design that delights the emotions. Is a quote that I read once that I have always grabbed onto for to explain user experience design.
And what
So
was that quote again?
it's design that delights the emotions. It focuses not just on the functionality of the system, but it delights the emotions. So what we have done is we've taken that design piece and integrated it into Agile.
Wow.
So what we do, we have a user experience designer on staff, and we have a way that once we know what we're building, we then bring in the user experience designer. We have a huge whiteboard in our office. It was the biggest whiteboard we could buy. And we go through and we have a 3-step process to add user experience design. It's our unique process that adds design to what we're going to build. The first step is navigation. How do you get to it? Is it being added to something else? Then how do you get there? Where's it going? If it's something new, how are you going to navigate through to the piece you're going to design? And then we design it. Then we go through. The business analyst who's the one who understands what the users need. They represent the business, the users, the functionality, the business, the functionality. The user experience designer represents the users. Now, aren't they the same people? Yes, they can be, but they actually have different needs. And so it's a back and forth of saying, all right, I think if we flowed the information this way and we set up that this way, this would work for the functionality, but the user experience designer, which is a education that none of the rest of us have, will say, okay, but that shouldn't go there, that should go there because. They have all the becauses. So you figure out how it should flow through. That would be a good thing to do if we stopped there, but we don't stop there. Our third step, we look at all the what we call unhappy paths. What could go wrong? And how do we come out of it? We look at all things like what on this should be mandatory before you can move on. What are the informational texts that should be around because this isn't quite clear without it? What are the warning messages? What are the validations? All of what we call, if you accidentally come here and you didn't want to go here, how do you get out? We add all of those unhappy paths to the design. And
Wow. Not an
all of,
afterthought.
not an afterthought, it's built in. So by
Wow.
the time we actually build it, we know exactly why we're building it, what's going where, what. There's a why behind everything that is on that screen, on that tool.
And you find that that delights the emotions.
Well, yes, it's the user experience designer's education and knowledge of what should be placed where that delights the emotions. You and I could have a stab at it, but they know why. They've looked at human psychology and they know what should go where and why. And it's that why that's always so powerful.
I agree with you so much. I think that most products require that emotion component, and IT can fall out of that realm so fast because it is so
Yes.
technical. That sounds like that is your secret sauce. One of,
Yes.
I haven't dig too much, but I would say that's IP. I would say that's something that you definitely have a unique system.
Hmm.
And so congratulations for that IP. So you did mention that you emphasize define and design steps in product development. With that, um, from a leadership point of view, I want to just pivot a little bit to your leadership skills because
Okay.
I know that you have those, obviously. When do you really lean on those leadership skills, or when don't you probably? But while you're really introducing this secret sauce, because like you know, it's if someone's been around the block a few times and you
Hmm.
bring this up, they
Hmm.
may give you some resistance, and but you want to, you know, you they may not just go along to get along. They may, how do you deal with that kind of a client?
Well, you know what's interesting is that I started my business 6 weeks before COVID shut the world down.
Mhm.
So 2020, February, second week of February, 2020, and 6 weeks later, the world is shut down. So
Oh my God.
my whole business plan had to go out the window. And how I ended up actually getting my first client was reaching out to people I knew in Central Indiana who worked at other IT consulting companies, and saying, "Can I be a blessing? Can I help you?"
Uh-huh.
During this shutdown, I have myself and one other business systems analyst. I call us figure it outerers. We are thinkers. We help, bring order out of chaos. Can we help? And so for the first 3 years, what all our clients were other IT consulting companies, and we helped them make agile work. We trained them to do this.
So have you found a way to protect and trademark this and
I
copyright
have,
this? And
you know what? If the whole world did this, I would be so thrilled, Rose. I don't want
that
to
is
guard it.
so generous.
I
So
want to,
generous.
I really, to me, it's about the world I want to live in. And the world I want to live in should be centered on the people and their experience. And
Mm.
does that make sense?
It
It's
does. God
okay.
bless you. I think that is why I love working with women, because you always look at the big picture.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's obvious. So many women in tech face unique challenges, which we've already
Mhm.
kind of touched on slightly. How have you learned to roar when necessary and when quietly strategize behind the scenes? Because it does take all sorts of approaches.
I found when I didn't have my own business, when I was working for other people, I found, first of all, I've always been really comfortable around groups of men, which is helpful, right?
Mm.
Um, but I always found I got respect and got left alone because I was just so good at what I did.
That's awesome.
Does that make sense? I
Yeah,
mean,
it
just
does. It
point
does.
me and work got done. But it did bother me. As you know, the IT industry is horribly misogynistic.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it we stopped doing, um, like I said, the first 3 years our clients were other IT consulting companies. We stopped that model and pivoted to having our own offerings for women-owned businesses, because every single company that I sent my employees into turned out to be toxic.
Mhm.
So, can I go back and tell you the origin story of Athena?
Please.
Yes. All right. So, I was working in an IT consulting company, and it was a toxic environment. There were about 100 people in the company. And I realized that after I'd been there maybe a year and I was sort of on my third team, I realized every team I ended up on had become a high functioning team. And I'm like, that's funny.
Mhm.
And I started to wonder, is it me? Am I somehow influenced? No, that's silly. So I looked around the company and I realized there were about 5 people, 3 women, 2 men, all different job titles. And there were 5 people of the sort of 100 that I loved to work with, that I hoped would be on teams with me. And everybody loved to work with them. And I realized I was one of those people too. And so I thought, what do we do? What do these 5 people do that makes them so great to work with? So I started to study them and trying to get some data. And what I figured out fairly quickly was that when I worked with them, I felt empowered. Using the definition, I felt stronger and more capable. And I realized when I was on a team, I made other people in my team feel empowered.
Mm.
So I thought to myself, what if I chose people who had that natural inclination to empower those around them? Plus, I study these people and I figure out, what do they do? What actual actions do they take that empower those around them? And I put together an onboarding training and I trained people on how to empower those around them. What an incredible company culture
Sign
I
me
would
up.
have,
Sign
right?
me up for your next course.
And that's what I did. It took another 3 years. So I literally studied for, took me a while to figure out. I ended up with vulnerability, empowering communications,
Yeah.
and boundaries. And
Wow.
I did a deep dive into Brené Brown.
Hmm.
My 5 steps for empowering communications in business are based on Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication, his 10 steps. And then boundaries is just me. I'm in the Midwest now. Boundaries, people are not good with them. So I have a whole thing around boundaries. Um, but I created an onboarding training. Everybody goes. So first of all, when we hire somebody, Rose, the very first step is our head of people empowerment does an interview, a meeting with somebody, a potential candidate, and she is purely looking for emotional intelligence. She is looking for somebody who has the emotional intelligence to be vulnerable, to use empowering communications, and to have boundaries. If you get through her, if she says, yeah, this person I think can do what we're looking for, then I'll see if they can actually do the work. But then we have this, and we have integrated these steps into every aspect of our business. So when you have a review, and in fact, we're in review cycle right now, we actually, each one of these steps, we've listed out all the things that we are asking folks to do. And that's what we sit and chat about. How are you doing with this step? How is this going for you? We have, when people come on board, one of the things, as well as their contract around hours and pay and all that stuff, we have a social contract. And the social contract that they sign, it lists out ways that you're going to empower our clients, ways you're going to empower other Athena members, and ways you're going to empower yourself, and ways you're going to hold us accountable for empowering you.
Wow.
So
I
we,
bet, poof, like, I bet their minds blown.
yeah.
First thing I want to say, Annie, is that is a business all in of itself, what you just
Mm,
described. You know that. Like,
yeah.
you could write you could write I'm serious, that would be an amazing book, a business book,
Hmm.
because that was golden.
Hmm.
I just think, but then you weave it into your own like evaluations. I think that is unbelievable, and I think that's a whole aspect of you I had no idea, and it it's got to be a majority of you can point to and say that's why we're so great. I mean, really, when you look at your critical success factors, would you
Mhm.
that is one of them?
Oh, absolutely. So when people interact with IT consulting companies, they have a certain expectation of how they're going to be treated. There's an expectation which isn't well. There is an expectation they're going to be. One of our taglines is we promise to never make you feel stupid. Um,
Mhm.
there's an expectation that you're going to be talked down to a little bit, that
Mhm.
there's going to be things said and done you don't understand. We are the antithesis of that. We empower everybody with whom we work, and we don't use, we demystify technology, we don't use acronyms. We really go above and beyond to make people feel stronger and more capable
Oh my gosh,
as they work with us.
this is amazing. I am so excited about your business. I just think that no wonder you really are amazing. I'm not just saying that because I've worked with a zillion, not a zillion, maybe a billion IT consulting firms. In your career, you have led in very different environments. So we've touched on a couple. You were at Fidelity, you were
Yeah,
at Decca Research,
yeah.
running Montessori school. You have those experiences. And how did that shape your instincts as a leader?
Thank you. That's a good question. So I have had 7 distinct careers. So
You
I,
giggle.
I do. So I'm a
I
pure
love it.
mathematician, and I did pure mathematics at university because I found it easy. That makes me really weird, Rose. I am a weird person. Even among mathematicians, that makes me weird. So what I realized,
Wait. Where'd you go?
so I went to Bath University in England.
Where?
uh, Bath
Oh,
University in England.
okay.
So basically, I am a really odd combination of things. I am absolutely left brained. I don't think I've ever come across anything that I have not been able to understand. I am the quintessential problem solver. My absolute joy is having a problem I have no idea how to solve and solving it. So I have this left brain that has to be kept active or I'm not happy. But at the same time, gosh, I'm a people person. I, people along the way have said, you should become a therapist. I mean, I'm like, okay, I just have this people side. So the reason I've had 7 different careers is because I kept trying to figure out what to do. So I
Mm,
started off doing actuarial work.
mhm.
So sort of on the financial side of things, which I zoomed through the exams I took, but I was sitting number crunching all day. My people side was atrophying. So I
Mm.
went back to college, got my master's in education, and did the teaching for a while. And that was great. But my left brain was atrophying. So then I got into IT, and I was a systems analyst at Fidelity Investments, which was great. Um, but then I ended up from the systems analysis, I ended up being a process engineer at Decca Research and Development, and that was good. But then I went back into education and became a principal of a Montessori elementary school, which I loved. That was when I went, oh, wait a minute, I want to be an entrepreneur. So I took this little school that was shrinking and shrinking. In 2 years, it was half as big again as it had been when I took over. And that was when I went, oh, it's an entrepreneur that I want to be. It's the creating the vision, getting the staff on board pointed in the same direction. It's the selling, it's the problem solving, how to make the books. It's all of it. It's
Mm.
everything that there is as an entrepreneur. And I said to myself, okay, so I want to be an entrepreneur, but doing what? And that's when I looked back at my careers and I said, I think I may have missed one in there. Anyway, when I looked back and I said, which one of these did I enjoy getting up and going to work the most? And it was when I was a systems analyst. And just people don't know probably what that is. A systems analyst is somebody in the building of software who takes from the business side what the users want to build that is in 3 dimensions. It's the requirements that live in the real world. And they flatten it into 2-dimensional logic to give it to the developers to develop. And
Wow.
that was the piece that I loved that. So I ended up going back into the IT world. Now, in the Midwest, there aren't systems analysts. They're put together with the business analysts and they become business systems analysts. So that's what I went back and did. And I very deliberately used that job to learn everything I needed to learn to launch my own company.
Oh my gosh. That's wonderful. While you were going through those identity
Changes.
changes, I'm not gonna call crisis, I'm gonna call it changes, because I can relate to
Okay.
what do I want to be? What am I gonna
Yeah.
do?
Yeah.
And when you were going through that, how did you keep that? Because what I've noticed about you is you're very resolute and you're very congruent. And when people are going through those kind of changes, it's really hard to be that resolute and congruent when you're kind of having those shifts in identity. Can you relate?
I can. So let the honest truth to that, Rose, is that I hit chronic ill health in my mid-20s.
Hmm.
And from my mid-20s to my early 50s, I had chronic illness.
Hmm.
And quite honestly, and what's funny is I never lost a job because of my illness, but I would get to a point where I'm like, there would be some health crisis, and I would go, I have to step back. And in those moments of stepping back, I would realize I'm being successful, and I was successful at every one. I'm being successful, but this isn't why I was put on this earth.
Hmm.
And I would regroup and go in another direction.
Mhm.
And what's interesting is they all built on each other. The skills I learned, the
Mhm.
longest, I was out of the IT world for 15 years. And everybody said, when I said, I'm going back into IT, woo, you're not going to be able to do that. I was better when I walked back in than I
Yeah,
was when I walked out. I was better.
I believe that. I do.
Because all of the stuff I had learned along the way, plus I had 3 children along the way, all that I had learned along the way made me better at my job. And it hasn't really changed. We define it, we design it, we develop it, we test it, we put it into
Well,
production.
yeah, I think you're looking at the big picture. And the big picture, you're right. Those people who were giving you that naysaying, they were
Yes,
talking about alphabet soup. You're not going to know that, I don't know when
exactly.
you departed. Was it, Windows
Yeah,
NT era? Was it
yes,
Novell? Was it,
yes,
what were we
exactly.
doing? Was it IBM, Microsoft, who knows what? But if you got buried in the alphabet soup and all of it,
Yes,
type of stack instead
yes,
of looking at it from a big picture perspective, yeah, you're
yeah,
toast
yeah,
because that's not those things come and go.
yes,
You what you offer and what you're doing,
yes,
that's the whole reason we use computers and use
yes,
IT and use technology.
yes,
Awesome. This is a
yes.
great combo. So, what is the biggest misconception companies have about software and IT? Like, if I'm not in the business of IT and software, what do you think that the biggest misconception is out there, and how do you correct it? Let from a keeping resolute, keeping congruent with your firmness and your approach. But what if they just don't, they have misconceptions? And I'm talking about people today think AI can do everything. I
Oh, I
had a
know.
call the other day, and this guy was wanting to have AI he's new to the business. This is a situation case study, okay? He's
Mhm.
brand new to launching a business. He has no customers yet, no emails, no contacts, but he has a really good idea, and he does. And he wanted AI to go out and get all the names and emails. So he says, ChatGPT, get me all the emails for all of this type of a person and write them and he even said, have it write a sales letter to all of them for me. So that is such a misconception about what we can. So when you walk in, is anybody that naive that you end up talking to in your business?
Not really. No, not really. But I think that the biggest misconception is that technology is big and scary, and that the average person cannot understand it. It's so complicated. It really isn't. It really isn't. Even AI really isn't that complex. So I have two new partners that I've got in June that I am so excited about. And they're both building cutting edge agentic AI systems, tools of different types. One is creating tools in the real world to do real world applications, and the other one has built a platform to go over other software tools to introduce agents into workflows. Very, very different.
Mm.
I am so excited by the opportunities this gives me to bring to my clients. But when people say, what is agentic AI? And I say, oh, it's the newest, it is the cutting edge. I wasn't too blown away by generative AI. I must admit, I was like, generative AI is going to change the world. And I'd have clients ask about it. And I'd say, well, no, it's good. Yeah. I mean, yes, if you prompt it, it can create content. That's what it does. It's great. But agentic AI is proactive, and you can teach it how to do things when the situation is right without you having to tell it to do it. This is going to revolutionize the world.
Well, tell us
But
a case study
I
where we all know what ChatGPT is. So you don't have to
yeah.
go, but what's the
All right, so
difference?
let me explain it. It's understandable. It's not, again, it's the latest thing, but you can understand it. So agentic AI uses layers. So the first layer is a tools layer, and the tools layer brings information into the system. It could be when something's put in a database, it goes, oh, new data. It could be on a user interface when somebody enters something and submits it. It can go, oh, we have what we were looking for. It can be location, it can be temperature. It's a tools layer. It just brings information into the system. That information is sent to a reasoning layer. The reasoning layer is where you put in your logic. So the reasoning layer is waiting, let's say, for the temperature to be below a certain degree. And it's the reasoning layer that says, aha, we've made it. We are now in the situation where we need to make this action. And then there's an action layer that actually does things. Each thing in the action layer does one thing. And the reasoning layer tells the action layer what to do. So let me give you an example. Let's say you've got, you want help, HR wants help when there's a new employee. So the tools layer is waiting for somebody with a start date in the future, and somebody gets put into the system with a start date in the future. The tools layer goes, oh, start date in the future. That goes into the reasoning layer. The reasoning layer says, oh, start date in the future, we need to set them up an email. So it tells the action layer, create a new email for this person. Also in the reasoning layer could be, if this person has this boss or has this title, then they need in the first week to have a meeting with this person. So then they tell the action layer, go find out the availability this week with this person. That comes back into the reasoning layer. And then the reasoning layer tells another agent, oh, go set up an email a meeting invite with this person using this new person's email that we just did. Boom. Nobody's had to be involved. It all gets done. But it's understandable. It's not
It
magic.
is. God bless you. That was awesome. I hope everyone took notes like I did. So it sounds like you believe in business partner relationships. You mentioned
Oh,
you have
very
a
much.
agentic, and that's agent IC, right?
Agent IC, right. Yes, that's where the word
You
comes
have
from.
an agentic user like this, what you just described was more of a real
Was
life
that was an
example
agentic AI
in a real
system
world.
in the real world. Yes.
Now, what is it when it's in the IT world?
Okay, so um, I have one of my agentic AI partners. They have created a tool that literally reads the code of legacy systems and deconstructs it into the business rules, the user stories, the data elements, and the integration points.
Does it read RPG?
It is amazing.
Because I have an electronic medical record software
Mm-hmm.
that I want to give to your IT agentic, and if I give it Wellness Connection, would it be able to create an AI version of my software?
So what it does is, so it deconstructs it into user stories, plus business rules, plus data elements. And I am, so user stories are the building blocks that we use that go to developers for them to build with. I'm a little bit of a user story snob. I admit I rarely like other people's. Theirs are amazing. It's incredible. Then they do have another tool that when you feed it user stories, builds a new system. The
I need
possibility
it. I've been
for
waiting for this.
we'll talk offline, Rose.
Okay, let's do it. Well, you are so amazing today. Gosh, I love this. Let's go into WeBank.
Mm.
You are a women business enterprise. I just know that's your cert. So what is it?
Women Business Enterprise National Council, and they're
National
the
Council.
ones, yeah, and they're the ones that certify women businesses for corporations.
And what's the WOSB mean? Do you know?
That's the federal women-owned small business.
Okay. So has that helped you at all? Aside, I mean, I know it makes you like really enmeshed in the women community, but have you actually gotten a contract because of being WeBank?
Not because of being a weebie. No, I have not. I
I know
have not.
some people do. I think you have to be in the beltway almost to really leverage that. Because
However,
I went through the WeBank myself, and
mhm,
it was awesome to have, and it really created a sisterhood and or people that really wanted to be supportive of women in business. It did have leverage, but when it comes down to actually qualifying for, because I guess and I worked in the UK when I worked with government contracts, and they didn't
mhm.
really care. So I never really got to use it that way. I just wondered if you did. But
Yeah, no.
how do you see women-owned businesses in tech shifting the narrative, and the advice that you would give to other women who want to build lasting companies?
I would say what astounds me about women-owned businesses is the through line. My very first WeBank conference, and there was a pitch competition, and there were sort of 12 people pitching by company number 5, and they were all different, completely different industries, um, retail, construction, service. Everybody was up there basically saying the same thing. We don't have a conveyor belt. We don't put you into a cookie cutter. We listen to you and
Mm.
we find out what you need, and then we figure out how we help you. That's what women business owners bring to the world, let alone to business. We focus on our clients in a way that just isn't the norm. It's interesting. One of my partners, AI partners. We have had, as we're trying to figure out how to work together, we were sort of 20 minutes into a conversation where he's trying to say, well, are we going to do it or should we do this? And eventually I say, why are you asking this question? We could do it this way for some people if that's what they need, and this way for other people if that's what they need. Why are we trying to put everybody on a conveyor belt? And he went, oh, I'm so male. We had this conversation and he agreed. It was like,
Yeah,
that's what women bring to the
right.
table, and the world needs us.
They do. And I have to bring up something that's not so positive regarding that because I got some sad news this week. The Northern Michigan Women's Magazine, after 25 years in business, is going out of business at the end of the year.
That's sad.
The Traverse City chapter of SheEO, which is like CEO, get it? They're going out. And as I write, I write the Lead Like a Lioness newsletter on LinkedIn. And every day or so, I post a newsletter about women in business. And there's a definite trend that we're not doing this. We're kind of doing this right now.
Yeah.
And it's just breaking my heart. And we're going to have a little powwow in February to try and figure out why is that happening. And I don't know, have you seen that trend yourself, or is that something that you've got your head down working in your own business, or are you seeing the trend that women are like losing a little bit of their momentum right now?
I've been surprised at the conferences that I've been to this year that they've been so well attended. I was expecting a dip. Corporations are still showing up at these events. I think it's a pendulum and it's going to come back
Yeah,
because the world needs us.
that's right. I totally
It's
agree.
silly.
I totally agree. And so I agree. Everything kind of ebbs and sways, but we definitely want to keep our eye on it and have more podcasts like this so we empower each other.
Yes, yes.
All right, let's switch over. I want to learn a little bit more about this Goldman Sachs 10,000 program. Can
Oh, it's
you tell us
wonderful.
all about that and how do you
Yeah,
do it? And give us the deep dive on that program, if you would.
absolutely. So first of all, it's free.
Hmm.
Which is wonderful. Actually, I believe the history is Goldman Sachs got their hand smacked and got into some legal trouble back in the day, and they were given the option of paying a very large fine or doing something that would be altruistic, that would be giving back, and so they decided to do set up this program, which I'm very grateful for. It's I believe 14-week program, and you meet for one full day every week. So from like 8 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. in person in a classroom, although they now have a couple of hybrid ones so that they can hit folks in rural areas. But basically, you go through this program at the very beginning. There's usually about, in mine, there were 25 companies, which I think is it's sort of somewhere between 25 and 35 companies that are chosen for every cohort. You're put into small groups of 5. So you have your little group within the bigger group. And in the first couple of sessions, you identify for your business a growth opportunity, and it has to be either a brand new product or a brand new market. Once you have identified that, you then use your business and this new growth opportunity to look at every aspect of business, marketing, operations, finances, absolutely everything. And you create over the 14 weeks a business plan. Man, it is a really detailed, dotted I's, crossed T's business plan for the growth for your business.
Oh,
It's quite something. The
that
biggest thing,
sounds
well,
very comprehensive.
I used it to, when I knew I didn't want to keep sending my folks into these toxic work environments, helping other IT consulting companies do what they were doing better. I used it to figure out how we were going to have our own clients and what we were going to do for them. So that's where I figured out our target audience is women-owned businesses and the 3 services that we were going to offer them and how we were going to market it, finance it, all that stuff. I worked out in that program. It's wonderful.
So
And
who is your ideal client?
so we relaunched January of 2024, and we really want to help women-owned businesses and not-for-profits. Most nonprofits are run by women, so we've added that to our list. So our ideal client is a woman-owned business that wants to grow and feels like growth is hard because they're having trouble keeping track of everything and everyone, or there's this bit over here that takes so much time because it's manual that maybe they could automate. We are adding now to what we are looking at. We are adding corporations and governments in conjunction with our AI partners to get some more cash flow to help us keep our margins very low with our smaller women-owned businesses.
Wow, that sounds so strategic. Good job. I love it. And Goldman Sachs 10,000, does that mean they're going to do 10,000 businesses?
They're way past that and they're still going.
Oh,
So
wow.
they have found it. I'm not sure why they do it, what their payback is, but they're still going, which is great.
Well, they probably, well, they have people like you really giving them a lot of accolades, and they must be really proving their salt. I appreciate that you shared that with us. So let's look ahead. Let's look into the future, and let's look at Athena Consultants 5 years out. Where do you see yourself continuing to evolve into?
I think the AI space, I think being on this cutting edge of agentic AI, and basically with both of my partners, they have these incredible tools. And what I bring to the table is how to turn their tools into a solution for their clients. That human piece, that upfront piece. I think this replacing legacy systems piece is going to really take off, and it's going to help all over the place. So really, it's that AI piece while allowing us to keep helping our women-owned businesses. So
Absolutely.
I just see us keeping down this path, but really leaning into this AI side.
Well, and you're so good at articulating and explaining things to make it, you say it's easy, you make it easy, you make it understandable. Whereas a lot of people, they have a hard time cutting through. Either they want to baffle you with bullshit, or they just can't seem to
Yes.
make it as easy to understand as you do. And I appreciate that very much. And
Well, thank you.
I mean it. And I do appreciate you being on the podcast today. I really know that our audience they're going to like, share, and subscribe to this one. I can tell you that right now. There's a lot of gems in this podcast. So I was wondering if you would give us some final thoughts or words regarding Athena, regarding the future of Athena, your team, any final words about your space and
So,
your geography, where are you going, what's going on? Any final words?
so I guess my final word would be, my goal is not just to change how technology companies work and interact with people. I want to change business.
Mm.
Businesses should be about people, should be about empowering the people who work in them. It should be about flexibility to allow women to stay in the workforce. We could do so much better in how we set up and run businesses to make the world a better place for everybody, not just our clients, those who work with us. That's my goal. That's my goal. People first.
People
That's
first.
my goal.
I
Yeah.
love that. I thought, well, Annie, thank you so much for joining us today. And I look forward to seeing great things from Athena. And I would love to see if I could talk you into coming back on in 12 to 18 months so we
Love
can see how
to.
you've evolved.
Yes, I can tell you what's happened with the agentic
Yeah,
AI space.
yeah,
Yes,
you can
that would be wonderful.
keep us in the loop. And it's just been a pleasure. And with that, we're gonna say goodbye, everybody.